Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. And today we have Gabby from Adventure Media. Gabby has been instrumental in leading many initiatives at Adventure Media Group, but her major role has been as a creative director. And today, the topic of conversation with Gabby is around how Adventure Media is leveraging AI for ad analysis and optimization. So let's welcome in Gabby and just would love to hear more about her.
Thanks. So I'm the creative director at Adventure Media, and so we are a performance agency, or shorthand would be PPC. So incorporating creative into what our agency is offering is relatively new. We've been piloting it out since the beginning of 2024, and so using tools like AdScape, which we were going to talk about today, has been like really helpful in understanding what works well with our clients in terms of their ads and what doesn't, and it makes the manual process of analyzing that much faster and easier. So it's really exciting, and I'm just glad to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks once again for hopping on a call or hopping on this conversation with us. So I think one of the first questions that we have as, let's say, as an audience set, or even just being as outsiders, is that how does Adventure Media assess an ad campaign, and how do they know that they should go about the process of optimization too? So like what are the different steps that Adventure Media, including yourself and your team, go through?
Yeah, so it's a big question because there's a lot of things that go into play here, and whether it's Google Ads or Meta. So whenever we first get a new client, there is an onboarding process and an audit that happens. An initial audit is performed by the sales team to do like something we call quick wins, and then something that's much more in depth happens by our account management team. So we look at anything that is the ad creative itself, the ad copy, the targeting, because you can have a great ad, but if it's in front of the wrong person or vice versa, it's going to be completely unsuccessful. And even when you are, making your ads, Meta and Google themselves have, stated outright that it's 50% of the success of it is, the creative, the image, whether it's video, or a static or a carousel or catalog. If it's not right and you're in front of the right people, it doesn't work. So there's a bunch of things that we take in consideration. And when we can make that jump that something is broken, it's understanding which one it is. Is it in front of the wrong people or not? So it takes a lot of time and, village of people to come together and, make these assumptions and then have the data to back it up when we do get on these client calls.
Awesome. Awesome. So, with these different aspects, I mean, if you could like give us a glimpse of like what sort of like data points that you guys look at while trying to understand a campaign performance, and also additionally, if I could throw in like how else are you guys looking at even optimizing ads too?
Yeah. So there are a number of things to take into consideration. We get clients that are either e-commerce or lead gen based. So e-commerce means that they just like sell a product online, and lead gen means that they are more focused on getting customer information, like put your email in to get a free demo or something of that nature. So we need to understand first like which one they fit into, and then what is like their KPI or key performance indicator that's most important to them. Normally it's purchases or add to carts, or it's going to be form submissions. Understanding that first is most important whenever you're opening up like a ads manager dashboard. And one of the key performance indicators that I like to look at as a huge priority is like the click-through rate, because that's going to be
Right.
really indicative of when something is working really, really well. Because sometimes it's not even really about us or like the paid ad itself. Sometimes it's something that's more on the client side. Like we have a great ad, we've got a great creative, we're in front of the right people, but then they get to the site and there's a huge drop off. And so that kind of helps us make that kind of educational guess that there's something wrong with the landing page, that we need to make their life easier, because the last thing you want is it's the burden on the customer to make the completed transaction. So click-through rate is a huge one I like to look at. Audience size is definitely in there. Sometimes people get focused really on impressions. I like to look more at like a reach, and that's why you have the normal click-through rate versus unique click-through rate. And so what unique click-through rate means, it's those are individual and those are different people, because sometimes the same person can click on the ad multiple times, and then that kind of gives a fluctuation. Actually today I saw the unique click-through rate was much higher than the general click-through rate. So that was like a really great insight to the client, that we were showing our ad too many times, which brings in frequency. And so I'd say anywhere between 3 to 4 is a good healthy frequency. When you start escalating into 7, 8, 9, 10, that means how many times that ad has been placed in front of the viewer, and then you can run into something called ad fatigue. And so when that number does get high, it needs to be swapped out, and there's just not enough ads running in that ad group or ad set. I'd say a safe number of having, you need like 5 ad sets per ad group. And so that's kind of more like the account structure that we look into. So when you see there's a KPI that is not at a benchmark, and a benchmark, and whenever you first get a client, is going to be a little bit arbitrary because it's going to be just on the historical data. Adventure PPC has been getting a lot of notoriety in like the jewelry space, and so we've been working with a lot of clients in that industry, and so now we are understanding like what a good healthy CPM is across the board, not just in a single client account. It's really important that we protect our clients' data, and so it's not transferable, but it's understanding like what we know is possible to achieve. So when we understand what is good and what's not so great as a metric that's showing in the dashboard, that kind of helps us make the jump of like what the first immediate next step is versus like the big picture.
Actually, now that like leads me on asking a question, and I think it's a good segue too, which is given the fact that Adventure PPC is now getting a lot of recognition with different jewelry brands, to say the least. Do you see a massive difference in the different types of platforms on which they're running the campaigns on? So, like, be it Meta versus, let's say, be it Google Ads versus TikTok.
Yeah, so each different channel or platform has their own personality. So what it works on TikTok shouldn't really be put towards Instagram and Meta. Sometimes there's a little bit of overlap because there's like a lack of assets, and I totally understand that. But even Google has its own personality, and so it's funny to refer to Google as a person, but they really do behave in that sort of way. So definitely needs to have different ad creative per platform across the board. And it gets a little bit tricky because you have to have a conversation with the client is, do you change their brand identity to fit into the mold of a platform and an audience? And it's like, no, you don't want to do that. So it's like the happy middle that you guys can achieve. So it's like getting your content maybe in a little bit more of a raw format, which is what we call UGC, or user generated content. And it's when a customer shows them wearing the product, rather than you doing this like beautiful photo shoot that's like New York City with the skyline. It's very polished and professional. That's something that you can get away with more towards Meta, and it's more like brand promotion. And then so it's like there's different things in the funnel. And that's something that a lot of people forget about, is because clients get really focused on the bottom of the funnel where that conversion happens, whether it's a purchase or an email submission. And that's great, and I totally understand that, and as an agency we understand that. But at a point it will dry up. There will be no more people, and it's because we didn't nurture at the top of the funnel. And so there is a total journey that needs to happen for a consumer before they're ready to agree and advocate for your brand. So if you can spread out your touch points on different platforms, it makes it much more seamless, and then you can understand where your audience is and where they're resonating. So it gives you a much bigger picture of understanding where we are and what's most valuable to them and what we should be investing in.
Got it. Got it. This is super interesting. So this actually leads me on to asking, like, what types of tools have you guys leveraged? Now we live in an age of AI. There's so many different tools out there, right from like you mentioned UGC, or like content creation AI tools, to like native analysis, to like all types of optimization tools. So I know that like you're the person leading the charge in Adventures, and so I'd love to know like what are you looking into and what are you actually getting your hands dirty with?
Yeah, so it's unfortunate because Google Analytics has been giving us less and less data to understand who is actually interacting with our ads. We had Google Analytics previously, now we like moved into like GA4, and it's much more restricting, and it's only going to get presumably worse. As an advertiser, we want to know everything about who is interacting with us, but understanding like the privacy that needs to take place for America's consumers is definitely important. So we have been reaching out to other platforms. And so it's really helpful that, AdScape, that you guys have been working so hard to put together. And it really does provide the analysis of understanding what works. And even just today, I was like looking at a report, and there was an actionable item that says ads that feature the New York skyline and bridges have a 32% higher click-through rate as opposed to ads that don't. And so it's the recommendation that you guys are giving us off the bat, without me having to even look at Facebook or the Meta Ads Manager and scan hundreds of ads, but knowing exactly what is working. So that's why it's not even just about having the right solution, but it's like, can you have the right solution in a timely fashion? Because some tasks just really can't take 8 hours to put together. It's like you give it your best hour and you need to move on. And it's a little bit scary because, every client's important. So AI has been huge in advertising. And it's like, I think it's been more so the focus of output, creative deliverables. There's like platforms that are trying to cut videos down to be shorter, put subtitles on there for you for music, give you a thumbnail, whatever it may be. But you guys are doing something that's like much different. And that's like the actual analysis. And it's been so out of reach for everybody. And so I think what has been really helpful is our relationship where we can use you guys every single month and then have for all of our clients. It's not like on the client to decide that it is actually valuable. It's like we don't have to fight them for it. We have access to it. And so it just makes the lives of account managers better and the client retention is lasting much longer.
Yeah, I mean, we totally love the fact that you all are providing a lot of feedback and that helps in the optimization of the platform too. So this actually like leads me on to one major question. Now, Adventure is leading the charge with a lot of, let's say, display, video, all types of campaigns. Now, how do you see things evolving, especially with the fact that, like you mentioned initially in the conversation, optimization of campaigns is becoming crucial. Clients are looking at actual core results and trying to measure that with ROI. So how do you see the future for Adventure in terms of like how they're going to be leading the charge, the different ideas and thoughts that you may have?
So I just want to understand the question. It's like understanding where there are shortcomings in campaign performance and how is Adventure going to keep up and understand things like week over week or month over month and like what kind of AI tools that we're using.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. The benefit of AdScape, I will say, is that Meta is really difficult, but you guys can actually, read video, and so that helps me. It makes my life a lot easier. And then soon, whenever we have the integration with Google to do PMax, that's going to make everything a lot more streamlined. It's kind of like the one-stop shop. Because it is a little bit more of the manual process going on right now, to be honest. It's where we have to spend a lot of time, but sometimes what we have to do with our larger clients is we just bring more team members on board to kind of help spread responsibilities. Because normally with account management, we get about 4 team members per account. And so when we do have larger clients that come to Adventure for their needs, it can expand up to 10 because the expectation is there that they need several different layers of like reporting across different channels. So AdScape has been like really the first opportunity for us to dive into the pool of AI reporting. It gets a little bit nervous because you want to, before you can trust it full on, you have to, it's trust but verify, and it's understanding like, is this true? And it's like, we've had a lot of great success with, your platform. And so we've piloted other things, but nothing's really stuck.
Got it. Awesome. One other thing that I would love to ask you is there any specific or metrics or KPIs that illustrates the value and the ROI that the ad analysis that y'all have ran with your clients, and then they've come back and said like, hey, Adventure Media is doing a great job? And is there an example that you could walk us through it? Because I think to the external world they would love to know like body of work that Adventure is doing. I know we deep dove into the jewelry as segment as an example, but is there any other industry that you could like dive into and give us an example for?
Yeah, so jewelry's been a huge one. We actually just signed a client based on the prospect of giving creative reporting because a lot of these major brands are shopping multiple agencies to understand which one is going to give them the most value. And at their level, they don't really price is secondary. It's more about what we can offer them. And so having the AI creative analysis to understand which objects and features and themes has been huge for jewelry. But even expanding past that, we get smaller, more mom and pop shops that really don't know what they don't know. And so with Adscape, for example, we were using this for it's a farm to table brand. And so they've got all kinds of different produce and poultry and a huge variety of things that they could offer in a concentrated area in Long Island. And so, but they could ship much further, so they can go all the way out to the city and the tri-state area because they had the capacity to meet those goals, but their ads were falling short. And so the click-through rate was good, but it was like, why was that happening? And so Adscape actually came in and saved the day and gave us some great insights for that, which is really, really helpful. But even outside of Adscape, we've run it for a retailer that was selling upscale lighting that they were featured in like HGTV and New York Times and all these great publications, but their ads were lackluster. And so we had to let them know that the ads that featured the house plant or like the couch was actually outperforming. And so they shifted their whole marketing budget to do a photo shoot that was much more lifestyle because they have prioritized the product against the white background for so long and they didn't know that was wrong.
Got it. Wow. This is interesting. So this actually leads me on to, like, I would say, my penultimate question, which is, given the fact that your role involves many different aspects, what's the hardest part about your role, and what's the part that you enjoy doing the most?
The hardest part about being the creative director at Adventure is I'm the first one. It's just kind of like, the year 2024 is going to be the year of learning and growth and understanding like what clients really do need. And so it's actually really exciting. And I had a meeting this morning with our CEO, Patrick, and our head of sales, Ronnie, and Avery, who is our director of client services, and it was coming together to understand what the holes are. And so that way, whenever we do have our next session of onboarding clients, it's like we can make these adjustments. There was nothing tragic. It was just kind of like, small little things here and there that would make the sales team's life much easier. But it's like through this feedback loop that we have, it makes it much easier. But Patrick and Isaac, who's our founder, have been so supportive, which is like really amazing because now we are kind of enlisting in all these different AI tools to make not even just client ads, but working towards using them for our own internal purposes for outbound sales reach. So I know that you came and stopped by at our conference up in New York and were able to hear us talk about some creative AI tools. And I was really appreciative that you guys made the trip out there. So the best part is that it's very collaborative. And the worst, not really a worst part, but it's just like, every week is different. Every month is different and every quarter is going to be different. So you can take that as like a good thing or a scary thing, but all of it is just exciting.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's all I had. And then the one other question that I would ask actually before we call it a day is there anything else that you like the ecosystem, which is the ad ecosystem or the marketing ecosystem, to know about in terms of, let's say, AI tools or even in terms of implementations that they could adopt?
Yeah, so I will definitely say if you're talking about ad creation itself and you're using AI tools, definitely know where your AI is being stored. Some people like to store it in across borders outside the United States, and so that's been a huge determining factor for us because we had to actually weed out some vendors for that reason. We like to keep all of our AI, whether it's for our clients or for ourselves, stored within U.S. borders. So that's one. The second is whenever you are using AI tools to help expedite your process, no, it's not going to happen right away. There is the learning curve associated with that, and there's always going to be revisions. So don't worry about showing the client the final product at 100%. Show them at 75 and let them know what's coming if we can sign off on this. So, and taking that own advice myself has helped me save a lot of man hours and trying to make something absolutely perfect before they were like, we don't want that. And I'm like, that's totally fine. I'm like, if I had only known, so preparation is key. My dad always says luck favors the prepared. So
That's awesome. That's actually great advice. And I think all of us should keep that in mind.
yeah.
But I think this has been an awesome session. Thank you once again for your time. And we'll definitely keep in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully I can talk to you guys soon.
Thanks.